not going to pick up any ghost recordings, is
I'm here with Beau. So when and where were you born?
I was born in Lubbock, Texas. Let me see the year.
Yeah.
1988. So July 23rd, 1988.
Okay. How would you describe your childhood?
Mom and dad were divorced, so I grew up in a single parent household with my mom and 3 older sisters. So all my older sisters are definitely way older than me. My 3rd older sister, we call her Piggy, so whatever you put down. Pig's she's 7 years older than me, so if anything, I guess I had not a lonely childhood, but I was, the baby, so I basically did everything on my own. Mm-hmm. But I did have a niece that was 3 years younger than me, but she passed away, and then I had a niece after her, so her name is Leticia. She's 4 years younger than me, so she's basically kind of almost childhood friend, pretty little sister thing. So I mean, it was basically lonely, but not too lonely, because I had someone closer on my age compared to someone being 8 years older than me.
Right. Gotcha. How would you describe the city where you grew up in?
Well, at first it was 150,000. So I mean, I lived in a Hispanic community. We lived around Texas Tech. So the area I grew up in, everybody played in the streets and whatever, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but now if I were to think, would I want to move back to Lubbock, I say hell no. Mm-mm.
Gotcha. Just crime or what?
Fuck no. I mean,
no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine.
No, they got SWAT teams, crime rates, especially now that the university is getting so bigger. My mom, she's gonna have to end up selling her house because all the businesses that are coming through, they're buying everybody's houses and whatnot. So when I go back home, it doesn't feel like home, because when I'm sitting in my backyard, I'm looking at the Hilton Hotel that's just a block away, where before it was basically houses of just people that we grew up around with. So it's pretty sad, but the majority is just, it's gotten so big, it puts that anxiety I guess within. But I think basically it's the crime that, I mean, it's gotten out of control.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Do you have a significant other?
Yes.
How did you meet them / what was your first interaction with them?
Oh, man. I met my husband, who was my boyfriend back then. I was a senior when he was a freshman here at Hastings College. We met at Taco Bell. I guess to cut this story short, I was interested in his friend before I was interested in my boyfriend or my husband, so that feels rude. But his friend Brian ended up, his girlfriend ended up cheating on him a week later after I met Andrew, so that's his loss. Anyway, so I don't know, I guess I hung out with my husband, I think 2 days after we met, but yeah, I guess what intrigued me about him, when he had opened the door, and there's these both doors at the, what do you call it, the Express, whatever mart. I was going out the left door, he was going out the right, and I guess he still held the door at the right, and I was kind of looking at him like he was stupid or something, and he was like, "Oh, I thought you were coming with us." I was like, "Excuse me?" Did he just throw a punchline or something? I'm like, okay. And then that's how it all started, so.
Gotcha. So then you went to Hastings High School?
Yes.
How would you describe your experience there? What was it like?
It was terrible. I mean, I didn't fit in with the Hispanic crowd there because they were different than I was. I mean, they weren't native, towards here, whereas in me, I was from Texas, and they basically, not shunned me, but, I didn't fit into their crowd because I didn't meet their expectations. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, I fit in more to the Caucasian crowd, so I had a lot of, white friends. it was lonely too because I couldn't do anything because my sister kept me like tied down a lot. So even if I were to ask to go spend a night at a friend's house, I really couldn't. The only friend that I could hang around with was a girl named Abby because my sister had worked with her mom in the office. So my sister like totally knew her. So that was the only friend that I could go hang out with and or go spend a night with. So I mean, it was pretty lonely until I rebelled like my senior year. So
Nice.
pretty fun.
What is your current work or like career path?
Right now, I took a year off of work just so I can focus more on my classes because last year I worked full time, went to school full time, you know, did full time mom and full time wife, and my GPA suffered. So I had talked with my aunt and my uncle, and they decided that maybe it would be best that I just still focus on school, but they would help take care of my finances so I wouldn't need to worry. So whatever I needed help with, they would definitely cover it. So that was a blessing towards me where now I can still focus on my schooling. But the career path that I want to take, I definitely want to do law enforcement, but I'm still like scared about, you know, dying. But I want to change it into a path where I guess more than anything, it's more like try to outweigh the bad cops. So try to, you know, I don't know how to say it, but I just want there to be more good cops than there are bad cops because there's like so many, you know, just bad things. I mean, obviously the bad officers that are out there in the media, they're making the good cops, you know, like just, I don't know, they're just making them look like shit. Mm-hmm. So then they're all they're all lumped into one. So
like one bad apple spoils the rest.
Yeah, and I want to try to be, what is it? I think my ideal police officer that I would like to be is Officer Tommy Norman. Have you heard of him?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's super awesome. He's an officer in Arkansas in Little Rock, and he deals with like different like diversity like neighborhoods. So like Black, Hispanics, Asian. Like this dude's like loved by many. I would like to be just like that. So like when I go into law enforcement, I want to try to gain the trust of like Hispanics, Blacks, Asians, Arabs, you know, to try to, I don't know, I guess be officer friendly.
Nice. Was there anything that like persuaded you to go into law enforcement?
My dad, when my dad died, it was really hard because I wanted to do nursing before, and then I thought about criminal justice, but I was like, no, I think I should do nursing. But then when my dad died, I think that was the push where it just basically, I don't know, it was kind of like, when I think about it now, it's more like his death was, I guess, part of the reason. So like how they have that saying, you know, everything happens for a reason. So I wouldn't be here right now, you know, talking to you if my dad didn't die, you know, 6 years ago. Or is it 7? Ah, shit, it's gonna be 7 years. I wouldn't be here, so I'd probably be in nursing and probably doing RN bullshit, but yeah. But it was my dad's tragedy that led me to where I'm at today.
Gotcha. That's interesting. So like, switching it up, can you describe what street harassment is?
Like catcalling shit, you know, like harassment, you know, dirty pervs, you know, like going definitely what I think is, whether that be like racial or like sexual, like if somebody were to call me like, I don't know, let's just say wetbag or something, then I would still think of that as street harassment. Or if somebody called me like, you know, hot sexy bitch, I think that's freaking street harassment. I mean, because either way it can go both ways, whether it be your ethnicity, your gender, or your sexual preference.
Gotcha. So streetharassment.org defines street harassment as gender-based street harassment that is unwanted comments, gestures, and actions forced on a stranger in a public place without their consent and is directed at them because of their actual or perceived sex, gender expression, or sexual orientation. And it includes unwanted whistling, leering, sexist, homophobic, or transphobic slurs, persistent requests for someone's name, number, or destination after they've said no, sexual names, comments and demands, following, flashing, public masturbation, groping, sexual assault, and rape. What are your experiences with street harassment?
Oh man. I know when I was younger, um, I want to say when I was in ninth grade, I there'd be like these high school kids like in Texas, like it was just so perverted. Um, like they just like obviously they had cars and whatever and whatnot. They'd always like come around the parking lot when we'd be like practicing outside for like athletics, and they just say some like nasty shit. It made me uncomfortable, just because like they'd be like, oh, pull down your shorts, pull up your shirt, and so I don't know. That's another one. And then when I was 18, I was at that's when we were able to go to the bars. So in Texas, when you turn 18, then you can go to the bars. So that's like pretty big, I guess, down there. But my sisters took me out to a bar for my 18th birthday, and that was pretty uncomfortable because I had one guy had come up to me and he asked me if I needed a job, and I said, well, what for? He's like, well, I can give you a job as a stripper, and it's like, are you fucking serious? I was like, fucking perv. But anyways, I was like, whatever. When I go and jog, sometimes when I was like more skinnier, I don't know, I guess it made me uncomfortable when like, this was like in Columbus and stuff, like when like older guys would like slow down their cars, and it'd get me scared, but they like, you know, I don't know, I guess gawk like awkwardly, like almost like if they're breaking their neck, and though they weren't saying anything, it was just like the point where they had to like slow down their cars just to see who the hell I was. So I think another one was downtown in Lincoln, where we were on a date, me and my husband, and there's these group of I want to say athletes. They had to be some athletes, and yeah, it made me feel uncomfortable because they were not like being like racial or anything. I mean, it was a group of white and black people, but yeah, the way they told my husband that he was getting the taste of a swirl and all that stuff, and not namely saying, or not namely identifying me like as a Hispanic or Asian, but I guess they identified me as like an Asian person, and so they say these like nasty like Asian jokes and stuff, and it really made me uncomfortable. So that's pretty much some of the street harassment I got so far. And the other ones, I basically just keep low. I keep school, house, grocery store, looking at people ugly, back to school. So not people, but basically like guys that I feel like would say something to me. So I always have this ugly face, or I like poke my nose or something, I don't know. So I can be like unattractive.
Gotcha. So then would you say that, like, do you feel different when you go into public spaces now?
Yeah. I feel gross. Like, I don't know. I guess it's just like the way that people are. Like I could cover, like I like to wear leggings because that's all that fits me right now. So, but I definitely cover like my behind, and I don't wear tight shirts or anything just because I feel like, not to say I don't think like everybody looks, but you can get somebody from the crowd where they're like gawking and shit, especially like Hispanic men. Like I think that's what grosses me out the most, because Hispanic men that aren't from here, so like if they're from like Guatemala or Mexico, they really make obscene gestures, and I think that's what grosses me out the most, because it's like you should be like, I don't know, mannered. I don't know. It's so, the things that they say in Spanish, it makes me really uncomfortable.
So would you say that these experiences made you feel like especially vulnerable or unsafe and scared?
Not unsafe or scared, but just like vulnerable. Like vulnerable where like I don't want to be, like I don't want them to look at my body. or just look at me at all in general. Like, it just disgusts me for some reason. And so when they do that, I feel disgusted myself.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Did you ever respond to the harassers?
Yeah. I'd, like, cuss them out and, flip them off, or my husband would try to, like, hold me back so I don't, because I'm always trying to get in a fight, I guess. But, yeah, I'd either cuss them out, try to get into a fight, or have my husband basically, like, throw me over his shoulder so he can get me out of the damn scene so I wouldn't cause anything. I know. I guess I'm a fighter. But I have to learn how to shut my mouth and walk away, because that's the best thing.
No, I think it's great. Explain why you think street harassment should or should not be taken seriously.
I think it should be taken seriously. I don't know why somebody would say, "Oh, it shouldn't be." I mean, to me, when I hear somebody say it shouldn't be taken seriously, I think of Trump supporters. I mean, no offense, but it's just, no matter what, I think, regardless of the race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, it should be taken seriously, because, I mean, to me, it's like, you're harassing somebody that's just minding their own damn business. Like, with me, I'm minding my own damn business. And unless you got something positive to say, then I'll hear it. But if it's something negative, then, best believe you're either going to get knocked out, or, you got like 7 minutes to get the fuck out of my face before the police call, because I'm going to mess you up. So, other than that, I mean, I think it should be, like, up there. I know people sound, like, extreme about it, but I think it should be up there where, like women who choose, like, women's rights. I think it should be up there with women's rights. So if, like, a woman chooses abortion, that's pretty fucking important, because, that's her body, her rules, whatever, I guess, yeah, I think it should be, like, higher, like, up there, whereas in people just sweep it under the rug and just call it good.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes unnoticed, if anything.
Are there particular, like, hot spots for street harassment, or places where you feel you're more likely to get street harassed than others?
Yeah, like, very, like, I don't go to the bars anymore. I mean, that was, like, when I was, like, 23 or 24. That was the last time that me and my husband went out to, like, downtown Lincoln. But definitely, I would say, like, the bar scenes. And if it's not at, like, bar scenes, then, like, places that are, like, occupied by people that jog in public, I think, that's another one too. Definitely, like, on busy, like, street corners and shit, like, if you're just jogging, like, whenever I jog in the cemetery, because I know there ain't gonna be no live people, they're all dead, whatever, so I'm not gonna get messed with. But if I were to go, let's just say, I don't know, jogging around, let's just say, UNL and stuff, I'm pretty sure someone's going to have something to say, whether that be a positive thing or a negative thing,
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the place and what people are there.
Have you noticed any differences between street harassment in Hastings and street harassment where you grew up?
I want to say it's the same, but in Texas, it was mainly, like, African Americans and Hispanic people that were from Texas, not from, like, different other countries. But, and up here, it's, like, Hispanic men from other countries, and just, like, I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems, like, vulgar to say, but just, like, there's some, like, white guys that are just, like, super fucking trashy, and they'll just, like, say something, like, out of their mouth. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. So I would say, like, ethnicity-wise. But even down, like, when I go back home to Texas, my husband, he guards me, like, like, he puts, like, blankets over me or whatever, so nobody looks at me. But I always walk in, like, with a mad dog face, like, I'm mad, I'm ready to beat somebody's ass. So, I mean, and it usually works. So they these guys won't talk to me because they're like, man, she looks pissed. You're damn right. Don't talk to me. But I want to say like 50% here, whereas in Texas it's like 47. Like that's the difference I see.
Gotcha. So kind of like on street harassment as a whole, like, do you believe street harassment is a form of gender inequality? I know it's deep.
Is it a form of gender inequality?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to give me an example?
So, I guess, like, do you see, like, men using, like, they know that you are kind of, like, lesser to them or whatnot, so they know that they can do this to you?
And get away with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they tend to favor men more than women. Whereas in, like, when they, like, a woman's getting harassed and stuff, you know, not only do people, I feel like, don't feel sympathy for him, I feel like they always, like, place that judgment, like, oh, she was asking for it. It's like, what the fuck? She wasn't. You know, that's her. You know, that's her business. But to me, I don't think, yeah, there's that huge, I feel like there's that huge gap. I don't know.
What do you believe causes street harassment? As in, why do you think sexually suggestive remarks are made towards people, especially if those people are strangers?
Because those people are pervs. No. I don't know what causes street harassment, in all honesty, but I feel like it has to do with the individual themselves. I mean, what they grew up around with. So maybe they're like their demographic. So let's just say, I don't know, Smojo was out there with his buddies and they saw a girl jogging and they were catcalling her and all that stuff, and let's just say this girl particularly was just wearing a sports bra and leggings and, you know, her hair up, but she had earphones on, and then, you know, his friends are like, oh, you know, she's sexy and whatever, whatnot, and then you got Smojo where he says something, like, obscenely, where, you know, he'd, like, F the crap out of her, you know, sexually and stuff, and it's like, well, maybe, you know, where did he learn that from? Did he learn it from friends, or could he have learned it from somebody, like, in his family circle? So maybe, like, he has a dominant father where his father puts the mother down, you know, whether it be sexually or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know, it starts within, I think. I mean, because, I mean, I don't know if I street harass people, but not that I do, but if I see a cute guy, I'm like, ooh, he's cute, but I don't go like,
Say it to him.
yeah.
Right.
Or if I see his butt, and it's like, holy shit, you know, it's like, he got a nice butt, but I say it in my head, not in my mouth, like David Beckham. If we saw David Beckham, you know, and you know how his butt looks, it's like, holy, like, thank you, Jesus. But not saying it out loud to offend him, because what if he's like not asking for it? What if he just likes wearing those pants because he thinks he looks good and he's just, you know, being proud of himself? You know, good for you. So
That's good. And do you feel like there's a line where street harassment ends and sexual harassment begins?
if there's a line,
Yeah.
I don't think it ever ends. I think people take different routes of what they want to do. I mean, probably the beginning was, like I said, I mean, if it makes any sense, it probably starts at home or people that they hang around with. But, I mean, it's up to them when they want to draw the line of where it ends. But, I mean, that's if, like, you know, somebody addresses it to them, and whether that be, like, punishment or, you know, scolding, it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like a, can you stop somebody saying, you know, like, oh, you know, she looks fine, blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying that, could we, like, suggest him saying it in a proper way, as in, like, you know, she's a good-looking girl, you know, she's pretty. Whereas in, like, I would take that comment compared to where, like, oh, she looks sexy, she looks fine. Because when I hear that, it feels so dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's, like, trying to teach the individual to go a different path of complimenting somebody, so it's not like street harassment compared to being, like, vulgar and just, like, upfront in your face. So, I mean, I think it always begins somewhere, but I don't know if there's, the way the world is now, I don't even think there's a damn end to it at all. Like, everything.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And then do you know of any initiatives that have been taken to, like, make people more aware of street harassment?
Yeah, like seminars, you know, like the Women History Month and stuff, you know, like people coming out and speaking. I like, when like feminists, like, you know, speakers come out and like, you know, they're like, yeah, you know, fight back, you know, men are perverts, you know, beat their asses. No, I don't know, they probably don't say that, but I would, but, that's promoting violence, so. I don't know, to me, I guess, like stuff like that, like awareness, and, you know, to like let women know, like, you know, don't not put yourself, but like, don't take too keenly on it, but like resist, like fight up against it. You know, someone says something naughty to you, you know, you open your mouth, and unlike me, where it's like, I open my mouth and then I want to fight you. So.
Right.
But like, take a stand, like, no, you are not allowed to say that to me, you know, you get back to your place. So, I mean, to me, I haven't seen much, but basically on Facebook and stuff, but I'd like to attend, like, you know, like pro-women, like, seminars, and, you know, how they, you know, address street harassment and everything, and just everything that has to do with, like, women in general and what they face.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good enough answer?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm all over the place.
Of course. No, it's totally fine. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Is there anything else that you'd like to ask me?
I don't have anything.
Okay. No, I mean, and the street harassment too, I feel like it should go for all, like, genders. So, like, if you know, I don't think it should be looked at with women that have vaginas, you know, solely, like, you know, I feel like, you know, let's just say you know, Jackie, who was once a boy, you know, now turned into a girl, you know, she's a woman too, you know. I feel like she should be equal as me. So, you know, something's getting done about my street harassment and nothing's getting done about her. Of course, I'm going to bitch and complain, because it's like, she's a woman too. You know, she chose to be a woman.
Right.
You know, she should have the same equalities as me. And when it comes to punishment, you know, if I'm getting justice, she deserves justice too. And then with, like, men, you know, it's like, man, it's like, you know, you're sexy, not just like that. But, it's like, I know, they're like, oh, I feel uncomfortable and stuff. Like, my husband, he likes to say he's like man feminism, and it's like, shut up. But, you know, I feel like there should be, like, maybe some sort of type of punishments when it comes to, like, you know, girls catcalling boys and stuff. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's different. I don't know. I mean, my husband liked when he got catcalled, which is whatever. I know he damn well likes that shit. But anyways, I don't. But, yeah. But more importantly is, you know, like the transgender. Like, if, like, specifically, you know, the boy becoming a woman, like, I feel like they should have their equal rights too, because I'm pretty sure they're gonna get street harassment too. But it's like, I want them to have the same justice as I, because I would feel like shit if something that happened to me, you know, got, like, whatever, you know, the person was reprimanded, they got, you know, scorned, whatever punishment was, or action was taken against them, and, you know, let's just say, you know, Brenda or whatever, I don't know what I told her before, but anyways, didn't get the same as me. I mean, I would feel really shitty, because it's like, you know, just because they were a boy once before and they become a woman now, I feel like they're a woman now. I mean, if they identify that, then, you know, more power to you, baby. You know, welcome to our club. So, yeah, yes. I think they should take that seriously too, instead of, like, you know, thinking, oh, street harassment is basically for women only. But it's like, identify women, you know. Like, someone that transitioned into a woman, or are you talking about women with, like, the JJs? Because it's like, we all women if we want to be women, so.
Right. I like that answer. All right.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, woman.